Hiya, welcome to All Ages Airsoft. I'm Marcus, I'm the gunsmith. Today we've got a problematic gun. It's a DMR, not entirely sure what make. The customer has taken it to numerous different people. The gun's never worked properly, now it's come here. I've been inside it. A few problems that I found. To start with, the wiring was soldered directly to the motor, not a great idea. A full plastic tooth piston, again not particularly great with a gun that's designed for high velocity. Hot rubber issues, just a number of problems. A screw stripped on the magazine release, which we had a pain to get out. So now we've decided to go whole hog. We are going to be fitting a Perun V2 hybrid MOSFET system, which is programmable, and also the Perun speed clicker system, which will give us real steel trigger feel, or something close to that. Before we came on camera, I've already stripped, cleaned the gearbox, and got everything ready, re-shimmed the gears. So I've set up the speed clicker already, because you really need to do this in a specific order. Take the gearbox apart first, get everything out, clean it, fit the speed clicker with the trigger and set all the screws for your individual play, trigger movement, trigger sensitivity. That all needs to be set first. Then we can go into the reassembly. So, as I say, I've already shimmed all the gears and pre-greased all the gears. So now it is a simple case of reassembly. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the hybrid MOSFET and put it in. Set that in position. Take the screw. Get it in line. I like to push it down and to the front of the gearbox and tighten it. Do not over tighten it, because if you strip that screw out, you're going to have problems. Then you need to get the wiring in place. I always get the signal wire underneath first, then the negative, like so, then the positive for the motor, and then the negative for the motor. I just find it easier to do it this way. Now, with a little Ace Tech tool, you can then, if you want to, put back your anti-reversal latch and spring, which I cannot find. My anti-reversal latch spring is gone. Bugger. No. Go. Right, first things we need to remove before we can actually fit the MOSFET is the trigger block assembly, which is part of the safety catch. This physically blocks the movement of the trigger, which is this little arm which sits through the gearbox in this hole. The reason why we've got to remove that is the speed clicker physically, I'm going to get it round, yeah, that way, mounts through that hole. So we need to remove that. The second part, because this is an electronic fire control, we have no need of the manual or mechanical disconnect system. because we're not now using the old shuttle system, so that's got to be removed. Once those have been removed and stuck to one side, offset can go straight in. At this stage, I personally fit the anti-reversal latch purely just so I can get the wiring and keep it held there. That's it, nice and simple. Next is the first gear in the series, like so. As you can see, I've already pre-greased it. Second gear, like so. Then I want to fit the trigger, like so, along with the speed clicker, which I have already preset for travel, sensitivity, and over travel. And that fits like so. And it holds partially the trigger in place. And you can see that's the movement. Now, with the V2 hybrid offset, you would normally use this little magnetic holder. You can see the magnet there. That would screw on to your trigger. But because we're running the speed clicker system on this particular system, we have no need of this. You don't need that. So at this stage, what I would now do is put some oil or grease on the gears. You don't need a huge amount. You just want a little bit, and a little bit on the piston runners. This is just to give some lubrication. I prefer to run oil, I prefer to use mag load on the piston, because I've found over time and dirty situations that too much grease on the piston can cause problems. Now, one of the issues this weapon had was, simple fact, very, very bad compression. So if I put my finger over there with the nozzle on, it is an O-ring seal nozzle. We have now got good compression. So I will fit my taper plate. I will also put a small amount of oil on both sides of the gearbox where the taper plate is going to sit. Sit that in, lock that in, make sure that the piston goes in the runners, push the taper plate all the way forward, take my taper plate spring, and I personally run a little screwdriver bit to make my life a little bit easier putting it on. We're very lucky in one respect that this is a quick change spring assembly, so I don't need to worry about having 4 separate sets of hands. There we go. Pop that down like so. Taper plate in place. If you put your thumb on it, keep it down, you can move the nozzle backwards and forwards nicely. Okay, now we'll put the last gear in, pull that back. Come on, in you go. Come on, there we go. There we go. That's in. Right, quick check. Everything appears to be where we need it. I also put, we've got bearings on the bottom gear because we want that to spin fast. I always put a couple of drops of oil in there just to give the bearings a little bit of oil. Then close the gearbox on. You might need to move the bottom gear you can generally feel, there we go. Pull that out of the way, pull the trigger. And at that stage, I tend to get one screw in. Once we've got that screw in, then we can relax a little bit. Make sure if there's a gap here, your piston may not be aligned correctly. You can look inside it, gears are aligned, triggers clicking nicely, nozzle moves nicely. If your nozzle sticks back, you may have possibly forgotten to connect your taper plate spring, or you might have a problem with the gearbox itself. That's not unknown. So at this stage, I'm now going to get all the screws where they need to be. It's quite important with these screws, because they are M3s, that you don't over tighten them. At the end of the day, this isn't the best cast material on the face of the planet unless you're lucky enough to have a CNC gearbox. So I just do them up so they're not overly tight. You want them tight, but you don't want to really crank down on them, because you will just strip the threads and then that becomes a pain in the butt. You can repair them, they can all be helicoiled, but it's a pain. Right, so that's all of that done. Again, give the nozzle a couple of presses, make sure the trigger's free, we're good. Right, I've already pre-installed the sticker on the selector plate. That's for the sensors here to be able to recognise it. And all I will now do, one thing you do want to watch out for is just rub your finger here and here. Feels like there's a very, very, very slight burr. So all I'm going to do, use one of my small files and just very, very carefully take off the burr. Give it a good blow. You could do that before, while you're cleaning the gearbox, and then slip that on and make sure that moves nicely, which it does. So that's essentially the gearbox back together. Now we're going to, because this had such a low velocity, it was running on 0.3s, 214 feet per second, which is way under where it should be. It should be running for a DMR 350 feet per second. A lot of that could well have been down to the air seal problem. What we're going to do for now is run with the spring that the customer had. I'm gonna, there we go. So the spring's in. You may notice at this stage the spring has decided to, there we go, it had kicked down. Word of warning to people who play with their guns, whatever you do, when you go to test your gun, make sure there is something there to stop that spring guide kicking down. Because if it kicks down and you fire the gun, what tends to happen is the piston hits the spring guide, jams itself, and then you'll do a gear or you'll do a piston, you might do a bearing. So I personally got tools for that where I can screw the screw in like there, and I have a spacer that just stops that spring guide from moving and keeps it 90 degrees to the rest of the weapon. Okay, so now all we're going to do is get this in here. Fortunately, all brand new wiring, which is absolutely awesome. There we go. lock it in. I tend to look down into the edge here just to make sure that I can see the selector move. This weapon has been permanently affixed to semi-automatic, which is good. That's what you need to do, purely because of the fact that this weapon is a DMR. Pop that screw in. And your receiver pin. There we go. Right, now we'll take the grip. Now you'll notice with the wires, one wire, doesn't matter which colour, but one wire, different manufacturers do it different ways, but one wire will always be longer than the other. And that's because the wires are meant to come in from the back, not the front. Or not one each way. There they are. So I'm going to pop in the grip screws, like so. And these are, again, very important, don't over tighten. It's tight enough. A good magnetic screwdriver here really does help, and good lights. There we go. Right, the motor. This is the motor that had the wiring had been soldered to. As you can see here, there is the remnants of the solder, but I've managed to get 95% of it off. It's always worth just having a quick check that there won't be a problem, and there won't be. At this stage, a good pair of pliers or a multi-tool is a godsend. Right, so as you can see, the black wire on this is a lot longer. So the standard wiring would be both wires start at the back, and then this side would normally come across, over and down onto the positive, and the negative would come in from this side straight in. But on this occasion, it looks like the black wire's a lot longer, so we're going to do it the opposite way around. It doesn't matter as long as obviously your positive and negative match with the motor. So what I'm going to do is just push the wiring. I want it well out of the way of the bottom of the motor. This in itself can be, depending on the wiring, a bit of a pain. So we're going to keep the red wire on the left, and the black wire is going to come in from the right. I don't know if my cameraman here can get a decent shot, but that's how they should be. In like that. And then the motor is going to go in. Now obviously on this occasion we're having it the opposite way around. So the motor positive is going to be at the bottom near the back of the gun, like that. So there we go, motor's in, and the motor moves freely, which is what I want to see. So what I then do, be careful with these again, they're crimp terminals. I will bend it over like so. Carefully grab it, and there we go, push it on like so. I tend to then push it over very, very slightly to the rear of the weapon. There we go, like that, just to give the grip plate a bit of space. And then we'll do exactly the same, but bring it over for the black. So very tricky I'm normally doing this sitting down. There we go. Try to avoid cutting or crimping the wiring at all. You really want it, especially if, like this one, we have a metal grip plate. If that contacts these two, you're going to blow your battery up. So I'm going to pop that into there. Long screw at the back. Right. And just got to find, there it is. And the small screw at the front. Now that is the basic system done. So at this stage, I'm now going to pop this into here. What I'll probably do is just come on, in you go. There we go. And all this is going to do is stop the spring guide from kinking down and causing me trouble when we're testing. So now that spring guide cannot kink downwards. The only thing we need now is a battery to test. Cool. I can't find that one. That's not the right one. Right, hang on. Kill it for a second. Go. Right, so now we're at testing stage. So first thing I'm going to do, I've got an 11.1 1400 mAh battery. Let's just make sure we've got enough charge in it. 78%, that should be absolutely ample. So we're going to connect the system, give it a second or so. Unfortunately, the one issue I have with Perun is they don't actually make a beeping noise to tell you they're booted up, but hey ho. So here we go. Sounds a bit squeaky, bit rattly, so I am going to check the motor. That's too much, I can hear it. That's about as good as it's going to get. Pretty good compression. Wires are getting warm, but I'd expect that with the spring that I suspect is in this. We think this spring is an M150, probably because of the fact whoever worked on it before had such low velocity they tried to overcompensate. So there's a good chance we're going to be taking this apart again just to run a chrono. So what we will do next is put the barrel, the upper receiver on the gun, and take it down onto the range and try it. Okay. Right, we've reassembled the gun. Obviously I haven't put the stock on because this is a non-quick change spring body. So just in case I have to strip the gun and take the spring out and change it one way or the other, we haven't put that on. This gun was running on 0.32s to 14 feet per second. Well, it should have been running as a DMR 350 feet per second on 0.32s. That would have equated to 450 feet per second on a 0.2. So we've got a full magazine of 0.2 gram Spectre ammunition. Let's see what it's going to do. I'm using a Valken radar chrono, 438, 434, 444, 436, 440, 438, 440. So I never like to set guns up right on the limit, because with atmospherics and any given day, you can never guarantee your gun's going to stay there. It could go hot, it could go low. So I tend to set most of the guns up here at a good 10 to 15 feet per second under the sight limit for whatever they're running. So this I will call good. It's running well, and yeah, very, very happy with it. We're about to try our tame target.
When you're ready, Bundle.
I fully consent to this, by the way.
Because you're stupid. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Right in the bumhole. Seems to be working, Marcus.
Huh?
Seems to be working.
Yeah.